I now call the Honourable Member for Swan.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Members in this place would be aware of the work I've done for the Forgotten Australians, and following my recent newsletter to the electorate, I'd like to update the House on the Forgotten Australians and on a personal experience. I have a particular affinity and empathy for the Forgotten Australians as a result of my own family history. Tonight, with the indulgence of the House, I'd like to talk about a positive event that has recently happened in my life. Many times over my life, and I'm sure many members in this place as well, I've seen print and TV media showing siblings meeting for the first time after more than 50 years, and this has just happened to me. On January the 15th, I met my 52-year-old brother Richard for the first time. He is the last member of my biological family I had not met. This was the culmination of a long personal journey for me, Mr Speaker, and I wanted to take the opportunity today to reflect on that journey in this place, and in particular the work I have done for the Forgotten Australians since being elected in 2007. I was born the sixth of 10 children in a family that couldn't make ends meet, so I was made a ward of the state and spent 3 years in a baby's home. I was fostered by the Irons family at the age of 3. I had a positive fostering experience, but sadly some of my biological siblings did not. In January, my brother Richard made contact with me through the Victorian State Department of Human Services, and within a week I met him with my older brother Bobby, who I had been reunited with when I was 35 years old. It was a special day for all of us, and besides the obvious physical similarities, we found that we had many common threads in our upbringing and a similar working class background. Richard now works for General Motors Holden in Dandenong, Robert is a spare parts driver for an automotive company, and myself having been an apprentice electrician and a road crew worker for the Gas and Fuel in Victoria before coming to WA and heading on my path to politics. Richard was adopted out as a young child to family friends, but grew up not knowing he had any biological siblings, until he recently managed to get his records and realised that he was number 7 out of 10. So at the age of 51, he set out to find his family, which included myself. Years before, my brother and sister had tried to find him without any success, even though he only lived a stone's throw away, but that is another story in itself. It took Richard the best part of 8 months after all the necessary checks to find us and contact us through the Department of Human Services. Mr Speaker, when I instantly said yes, I would meet with Richard, the girl from the department was ecstatic and was just as excited as I am sure Richard and I were. As I said on the day of the apology to the Forgotten Australians, we can unfortunately never make up for the loss of our brother Raymond and sister Jennifer, both of whom suffered in orphanages, but we are fortunate to be able to be here to speak on their place where I am. It is these experiences and the experiences of my siblings that have helped me in my role as a Member of Parliament and given me great empathy with the many people in our society across Australia who have had a tough time in state care and are searching for their own families. You may recall, Mr Speaker, that there was plenty of focus on the Forgotten Australian apology a couple of years ago, but I would just like to remind the House of the Forgotten Australians through the words of the Care Leavers, the works of the Care Leavers Australian Network. Close to 500,000 children in Australia in the 20th century were brought up in care as state wards, foster children or home children raised in orphanages, children's homes and other institutions, and then foster care. Many of these people are now middle-aged or older, but still carry the burden of unresolved issues from the past. Mr Speaker, many are afraid to tell their friends, even their children, that they were in care system because of the stigma it carried. Many were cut off from all contact with family members and are still looking for them. Most left the care system without any preparation or assistance for adulthood or parenthood. Many are left with scars of emotional deprivation and neglect and of physical, sexual and psychological abuse. It has also been a journey for me working for the Forgotten Australians in and outside the Parliament since being elected in 2007. I met Leonie Sheedy of the Care Leavers Australian Network early on and pledged to help her group towards achieving the recommendations of the report into the Forgotten Australians, including a national apology. It was during this time in September 2009 that I addressed a rally in Perth for the Forgotten Australians who are upset about the WA State Government changes to redress. I met many Perth Forgotten Australians at the rally and held subsequent meetings in my East Victoria Park. Their story was common and saddening. Mr Speaker, I fear I don't have enough time to finish the information I have here, but I'm running out of the time, so I will conclude by saying how happy I am that I have had Richard contact me. I now have a younger brother who I can boss around, and I really hope that we now have met, we can make up for all the lost years with our remaining years. I'd also like to thank my constituents and many messages of support I've received over the last 2 weeks. Thank you.
On behalf of the House, I'd like to thank the honourable member for that particularly moving contribution. The question is that the House do now adjourn. I now call the honourable member for Wells.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I'm really pleased to have been able to listen to the member for Swan. His personal story and that of his family is quite inspiring.